everybody, it is Calxiyn here, and thank you for attending Calxiyn's Royal Court today, where we have gathered to watch Ephemeral. I don't think that's how you say it at all, but anyway, it is the 100th episode, officially, I think, of Miraculous Ladybug, period, but it is the 22nd episode in Miraculous Ladybug Season 4. I'm so excited, but I'm scared. This episode, I'm literally kind of shaking a little bit. I don't know if it's just maybe it's daylight savings time, you know, but the vibes are just weird. There are just weird vibes inside of my heart today. You know what I mean? I feel almost scared of this episode. I don't know, this could change everything. This could change nothing. We have absolutely no idea. And so I hope that you enjoy my reaction and my discussion, but without further ado, let us just get into it. Okay, oh, this is where we left off last episode. Oh, that does not sound good. What was that? Oh, was that his Hawkmoth gem? Oh, that's cute! 100th collection, 100 episodes. He's twisting the ring, bro! That's so sus for my Adrien Senti-Monster theory. See, look at how fast he gives up and he twists the ring every time. Okay, well, oh, look at Adrien. He's so cute. Oh. Oh. And everything he still does right now. Okay. I think we're missing some steps here. What are the coins? What are they for? Hello? Oh, yay! All the heroes are out and about. That's really cool. Cause yeah, I guess Adrien's busy. So maybe she was Cat Noir, and then Cat Noir never showed up, so she just got everyone else. Ooh, cool. Damn. Okay. Poor Max, he's just spitting out coin. Yeah, see, we need Cat Noir, bro. No! Oh! Maybe the lucky charm will tell her that it's Adrien. Okay, or not. We're getting a lot of cars this season. A car, a motorcycle, this is ridiculous. I mean, I love it, but I love how she had to get literally everyone. Okay. Well, good thing Luka's there, because this may not work. Oh yeah, and I want to see Luka's more of a reaction to the fact that it's Marinette. You know what I mean? Okay, come on, Luka. Really? This is gonna take forever if you do it like that. You gotta think about, what's this man's birthday? What does he like? All the combinations would take literally years. Oh. Okay, well, good thing it was that. Jeez. Oh, now Adrien. I hope Adrien doesn't think that he's not needed anymore. Wow, where the fuck did he come from? He didn't show up, sir. It just be like that. Oh, damn, that's fucked up. Yeah, damn, he would never be like Hawkmoth, bro. Yeah, see, that's been... Hey, you don't know who he is either. See? That's what I've been saying. Cause that would be enough. Or Luka can just be the guardian. Oh, but Luka already knows. Does she know that? Oh, damn. Oh, poor Adrien. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, okay. But not both, but he knows both. Exactly. See? So that's why both of them can't know. But I guess she's making the responsibility so Luka will know. But he already knows. But what if she goes rogue? What if she finds out that it's Adrien and then she goes rogue because it's Adrien? Right? See, so it's fine for Luka to know. That's what I've been saying all season. But Luka knows both, so that's a dramatic. No! I feel like that Marinette is gonna toss the plan out the window once she finds out it's Adrien. Oh no, but doesn't Luka know that? Like, Luka knows! Luka knows that Marinette loves Adrien, and he knows that Cat Noir is Adrien, doesn't he? Didn't Wishmaker happen before this one? Oh my god. Damn, he's so confused. Damn! Oh, she's saying that she's shy. That's kind of cute, but... Oh. See? No! 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 Oh, Luka's just here like, bro! Oh no! Yes! See, now she won't want to rewind. Oh, Bunnex is gonna have to come through and fix all of this bullshit. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. But like, they're so cute. Oh. It's too late! Damn, Luka! You knew this was going to happen! Like, bro! See, she doesn't want him to know, because what if he knows that she's Marinette and then everything is okay? Well, okay. Oh, I thought something like this might happen! You know why! You know why, Luka! Luka! So he's satisfied? Oh, damn! But they're not! Yeah, see? Oh, this is so interesting! I love how Adrien's just like, he has too much energy. Oh, see? Adrien's becoming more jokey, like I said. Oh, poor Marinette. See, now she can see all the Cat Noir that was inside him all along. Like we've been seeing the past couple episodes with him being more like a class clown in class. Oh, Bunnex. Bunnex, please save us. I feel like that this cannot stay because it's just so anticlimactic in terms of the reveal. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that it is interesting to see how Marinette would react, but I feel like it's too anticlimactic for it to be permanent. Oh yeah! He has, sis! Oh. Oh, yeah, see? Luka loves Marinette more knowing that she's Ladybug. But what if Hawkmoth finds out? Because they're not being careful. She called Adrien as Ladybug. Like, what if Hawkmoth heard that? Okay, that theory that I made like 3 years ago. Oh, there's no one else here? Did Adrien just buy out the whole movie? Uh-oh. That is not Adrien. Oh my god. Hawkmoth's costume? That's a little scary. Wow, she just had to like... See, it's Luka. The 1-minute clock. She has to go back before this fucking happened. Oh, come on, Luka. Come on, Luka. You gotta come in clutch. Oh, look at how Luka knows what's wrong right away. No, but Luka has to come fix this, right? Luka as Bunnix? Oh. But won't that cause great disaster? It's an emergency, though. Bro, this is not good. Yeah, Hawkmoth's literally ending the world and making his wish, bro. Because he's making a new world. Oh my god! That was a theory that I had before! I'm right, but this is a bad time to be right. Oh, fuck. Wait, what? It's Joan of Arc? Why? Well, that... Chat Noir's like, Luka! Luka! Bro! What are they going to do about this? Right. Okay, and do what? Oh, okay. So I don't understand this episode very much. I need help. So I guess what's happening is like, I don't know, all computers are messed up or something. You know what I mean? Okay, so I guess they just fixed all the computers in the world, and that's what caused all the akumatizations and all the problems. Okay, sure. Bro, the world literally ended. Yeah, see? He was wrong. You literally destroyed the world because you wanted to know who Chat Noir was. Yeah, see? Yeah, you tell him, Marinette. Clearly it was a mistake. Well, that's good. That's good that they resolved this. I don't know how I feel about this episode, though. All right, everybody, let us get into this discussion now. And this episode seems to be very controversial. It seems like a lot of people did not like this episode. It seems like a lot of people are mad about this episode. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation, I think. Because, like, there are some parts of this episode I really didn't like. But then at the same time, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? Like, there were some parts of it that weren't great. But I feel like it wasn't that bad, you know? But I feel like the reason why this is because, like, this was like, ooh, it's the 100th episode. Like, people, I think, had an expectation, and that expectation wasn't necessarily reached. But it's like, is that their fault? Or is that, like, the marketing's fault for marketing, like, the 100th episode as this, like, big thing, when really, like, it wasn't this big thing, you know? And so it's just a very complicated conversation. But let's just get into discussing, like, the actual episode, right? I think that, like, the most interesting part of this episode was seeing, like, the theory implications of everything, right? Because obviously, we do see the world end. So we do actually see, like, what happens if, like, someone were to make a wish. Because Hawkmoth was in the process of making one. So, like, in terms of theorizing about what could happen going forward, this episode was actually pretty useful. Because now we have, like, a framework. Because something that I've always said, and you can go back to, like, my theory 3 years ago where I was like, Adrien's gonna die. And, like, you know, that whole theory or whatever. Like, something that I've always said was that I think that the wish will have some sort of equivalent exchange, right? Like, if you're going to wish for a alternate reality where Emily is alive or whatever Hawkmoth would have wished for, like, that's gonna come at some sort of cost. And the cost is, like, literally, like, deconstructing the world and reconstructing it, right? And so I was pretty happy about that, like, seeing, like, the actual result of the wish, because that's something that I theorized about, like, for a long time. Obviously, we didn't see the price, or if the price was just like deconstructing the entire world and making a new one. But I feel like there would be more of a cost than that, because like what does Hawkmoth care if the world is destroyed and then a new one's created, right? As long as it's the one that he wants. So there must have been another cost. But just seeing that like there was equivalent exchange going on in the Wish, like that made me really happy, because that's just a theory that I've had for a while. So anyway, Hawkmoth feels like his Hawkmoth sense is going off, right? And so he's like, you know, I'm not feeling well. Like, you're literally in the car, you're on the way there, and he's like, actually, I don't want to go, right? And so then, here's like the most like sus part about this episode, right? Is that Gabriel like fiddles with the ring multiple times. And I will make another theory about this because I feel like one is warranted. But a couple of years ago, I made this theory that Adrien is a Senti-Monster, and I know that some people don't like it, but I feel very vindicated right now. And I'm not gonna say that like it's a hard confirmed, because it's not, right? This could be something else, and I'll talk about that like briefly right here. But like so many people were so like salty about even the concept that Adrien could be a Senti-Monster. Like there were people like, Senti-Monsters can't use Miraculous, and then like obviously Senti-Nino happened. And it's like people just make arguments out of like thin air. Like they're not actually debunking the Senti-Monster theory with like actual proof. They're debunking it with things that they think are canon. Like nobody ever said that Senti-Monsters like can't use a Miraculous, right? But now like we've seen that they actually can, and so those people look pretty silly at the moment, right? And like it's just that, but with like everything. Like Natalie can sense Senti-Monsters. Like who said that? You know what I mean? She can sense an amok, but she can't just sense like, you know, if there's a Senti-Monster walking down the street that she didn't make. Like there's nothing to indicate the things that people use to debunk the theory. There never was. And so that's what makes me like really like, I don't know, a little like tee-hee inside, is like, because sometimes, you know, I post other places, right? And I remember a couple months ago, I posted something like to the Reddit about Mega Leech, and there are so many people there that are like, no, like it can't happen because of this, and they're trying so hard to debunk it, even though the stuff that they're using to debunk it isn't actually canon. Like it's just like the stuff that they pulled out of their ass to try to disprove the theory. But anyway, like it's fine, whatever. My point is with the ring, right? All of this to say, I'm feeling like pretty happy right now about all of the people that are like, oh shit, the Senti-Monster theories may actually happen, because it could always have actually happened. Like this isn't out of thin air. Like I saw it all along 3 years ago or whenever that I made that theory. Like it was always possible. People were just trying so hard to believe that it wasn't. And now that it's almost possibly possible, people are like, oh shit, right? And so that's why a lot of people are mad about this episode. Like I saw people genuinely upset that this means that the Senti-Monster theory like could be true. And it's not confirmed that it is true. I do have like two paths for this, right? Obviously, the first one, and the one I like, is that Adrien's a Senti-Monster, right? And I'm not gonna go through all, like, the counter arguments, because I don't have time. I've already talked about, like, that long enough, right? But there is, like, another one that I think could be possible, and, like, I've seen a couple people say this, like, the rings could just be magic and have some sort of magic of persuasion, right? And, like, that Gabriel could do this with anyone, but, like, Adrien is just the one that he uses to persuade the most. The only thing that I think is wrong with that theory is, like, could Gabriel, like, not use that on anyone else? That's the only thing, right? Because we've only seen him do, like, the ring twisty twist, as far as I know, around Adrien. Like, we haven't seen him, like, have to command, I don't know, like, somebody at work to do something, or, like, Audrey Bourgeois, like, in the scenes that they've been in together and stuff. And so I think that the theory that the rings could have some sort of, like, magical powers unrelated to Senti-Monsterness, it could make sense, and it could explain, like, why Emily and Gabriel are so successful, right? Because when you think about it, they could have just been kind of like using their rings of persuasion to get their way, right? Like to get this movie produced, to get this fashion line approved, to basically like work their way up in the world. How do you say that? Like to climb up the corporate ladder, they have used the rings until they got to the very top. That's why they're so rich and famous. I think that that's an interesting idea, that these rings just have like the power of persuasion. However, I feel like that the writers would have like took the opportunity to show us that Gabriel can do this with other people. And maybe they have, because we haven't seen Gabriel aggressed yet, but I think it is a little suspicious that, like, especially in this episode, they highlight it so much just with Adrien, like, not with anyone else. And you could also go back like even to earlier seasons, like why didn't like Gabriel do this when he was Hawkmoth in front of Ladybug and Cat Noir to persuade them to give up their Miraculouses then? Like in was it season 2 or season 3 when Mayura first popped up and they were all on like the Eiffel Tower together, like fighting and stuff? Like why not do it then if it could persuade anyone, right? Like that's the only thing, because some people are like, oh, but that's Emily's ring, because after Felix stole his, he took off Emily's. But like even in previous seasons, you see him doing the ring thing and then giving like the direct like orders or whatever to Adrien. There's actually like a whole thread on Reddit that has like every instance that Gabriel has like issued a command to Adrien and then like Adrien followed this, or Adrien said Adrien's not allowed to go out, but Cat Noir is, like Adrien's finding the loophole, and that like whole thread is kind of like oh, let's see if like the Senti-Monster thing could be debunked through that, but there haven't been any instances where Adrien has just like directly disobeyed after his father has like really done the ring thing, right? And so like there's a whole thing about that. And so I feel like that if the rings were just magic, they would have gone out of their way to show it be done on other characters, because I feel like that would have been good in terms of like writing, to like plant the seeds that is something that the ring can do, right? And so the fact that he only does it for Adrien, I feel like is more like Senti-Monster related. That's the only thing. I'm bringing up another alternative so we can like think about it, because I don't want to be biased, right? Like I don't want to just be like, well, I like this theory, so that's the only thing I'm gonna talk about is my theory. Like, no, I think the magical ring thing in general could be interesting. Again, it could explain how Gabriel and Emily were so successful. They've been sort of like persuading people with magic all of their lives up until this point. But I just think it doesn't make sense when you consider that like Gabriel, could have used it on other adults a lot, and like he hasn't really used it. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't used this. If it is a magical ring, he only uses it on Adrien. So that's kind of the weird part. And so here's what I think about like the rings themselves. I feel like that since we've seen an amok split in multiple pieces, like throughout the season, or even I think we've seen the butterfly be split up into 2 as well. The amok was split up in the episode with Polymouse, right? But anyway, like the akuma, the amok, they can be split into 2. That's all I'm saying. I feel like that, like the whole thing with Adrien, maybe that each parent had like a wedding ring, and so each parent set the intention, like that sort of thing, or that like Emily and Gabriel could have like equal say or equal like control. But now Felix has the other one. And so that's the weird part, is that instead of like, Emily having one ring and Gabriel having the other, Gabriel has one and then Felix just has the other one, but Felix is like wide out of range. And so that'll be interesting too, because Felix is in Gabriel Aggress. It'll be interesting to see like if Felix has the ring on him and like if he says anything and Adrien just like listens to it and like complies, There was actually something interesting, is that Gabriel at some point said like, oh, Adrien, don't go after Felix, and then Adrien does it anyway, and that's the one time where Gabriel doesn't have the ring because Felix has already stolen it. So yeah, this ring thing, they've done this like, I don't know if it's a red herring or what, but they did this so much in this episode, right? And then we also have, which episode was it? Where it was like, Adrien, you disobeyed me, go to your room. And Adrien tries to fight, but instead he's like, yes, father. I think it was like the eco-friendly one. I think that was also the Polymouse one, right? And so what I think is interesting about like the little press conference thing is like Adrien says like, oh, everything that my father did, he did for her, right? So even Adrien kind of knows that about his father, right? And that's also interesting too, because like, that is like sweet in a way, but then when you think about it in another way, like everything that Gabriel does is for Emily, like not his son. His wife is the priority, right? And that may not be too weird to people, but I guess the way I'm kind of thinking about it is he willing to sacrifice his son for his wife? And maybe that's why like Gabriel has kind of weird feelings, like lukewarm feelings towards Adrien sometimes, because it's like, well, he's a Senti-Monster. If we have to sacrifice him, we'll just make him again after she, becomes alive. Or maybe he blames Adrien for causing like Emily's state in the first place, if that is what she used the Peacock Miraculous for. Very interesting ideas here, right? There's just a lot. There's a lot of like interesting ideas in all of this, obviously. And yeah, I feel like that like this like little plot like with the gold coins doesn't really matter. Yeah, so what I think is funny about this is Marinette just got like everyone. Like she just needed that much help. She has this isn't a great picture of everybody, but she just got the whole squad to help with this because Cat Noir wasn't answering, right? So I guess she was just like giving out Miraculous, like, oh well, maybe one of you can do something, right? Or I guess she needed all of them for her plan. Like, they're basically trying to circumvent, like, needing Cat Noir right here, right? But I thought that it was cool to see, like, all the heroes together, and I love how, like, Adrien just sees this, but he can't go anywhere, and it's like, your father's counting on you, you know? Like, you can't just, like, what are you doing, right? Like, because Natalie doesn't know what he's thinking. It's like, Adrien, get your head out of the clouds, like, your father is counting on you, right? And so I love Marinette, like, just everybody, literally everyone that has had a Miraculous, I think, is here right now. At least I think so. I think the fire truck too was hilarious just because like there have been so many solutions that have just been literally cars this season. But yeah, we see everyone. Like Julika's even here. I don't think that anyone we haven't seen yet though is here, which is kind of disappointing because I was hoping that like Ivan and like, you know, some of the other characters, like mostly the boys that haven't gotten the Miraculous yet, like I was hoping that they would get it, but I guess they haven't, which is unfortunate. And I love this is hilarious because, like, if the code wasn't 0099, Luka would have been, like, literally so fucked. Like, think about that, okay? Like, the amount of combinations you would have to try, like, it's statistically unfathomable, okay? I'm not great at math, but, like, the amount of combinations that you could have out of those numbers is, like, ridiculous. Like, if it wasn't near the bottom, it would have taken Luka years. Like, you know what I mean? Because he was going from 0 all the way to 100. He kind of got lucky. But, like, if it was, like, you know, 4,157 or something, like, if it was something like that, he'd be screwed. Like, you know what I mean? He would be there forever, right? And so, anyway, lucky for him, it only took him that long. But yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, that's like too good. That's too convenient for Luka. Yeah, and so then the Guardian comes out of nowhere. Or I guess I shouldn't call him the Guardian. What do we call him? I mean, he's a guardian of something. But like, you know, the guy, the man, he like comes out of literally nowhere and is like, bro, you have to find out Cat Noir's identity because like, this is not working. Like, you can't call on him. How can he be unreachable, right? And so a lot of people think that this is kind of contrived, but I do think that it makes a degree of sense for his character to think this, right? Because like Marinette's whole thing is like, no, you're wrong. If we know each other's identity, the world will literally end, sir. And that's like a point that she makes at the end of the episode. But like, he does kind of have a good point, right? Like, he has a good point in the sense of, like, you don't know, like, where he is or what he's doing or anything. So, like, some people said that this was contrived. I don't think that that's as contrived as people are saying it is. It makes a lot of sense for his character to think this, right? And then back in the day, I don't think that identities were secret. Like, that's just a function of, like, Hawkmoth, because, like, obviously Hawkmoth is doing, like, a very particular formula to try to get these Miraculouses, but I don't think that Joan of Arc necessarily had to, like, I don't know, hide her identity and, like, do this whole, like, you know, double life situation. Like, I think that people back in the day, like Hercules and shit, like, if they had a Miraculous, they just, like, did the thing. You know what I mean? Like, they, you know, they just used them, and that was it, you know, like, stuff like that. But look at Luka's face here. Luka looks so displeased, like, you know. But this is a bit of an overreaction, right? Because he's like, what if he acts like Hawkmoth? What if he goes rogue one day? Like, isn't that an exaggeration? And so anyway, he basically goes ahead and tells them, like, I don't care. It doesn't matter if, like, Hawkmoth captures him. Like, you know, you gotta keep him under control. Or we can get another Cat Noir. So here's the funny thing about this, and I understand people's point, right? Like, Luka knows everything, and Luka's just here like, you know, like, Luka's just like, that's not my problem, you know? And so I think that that's a fascinating thing, because some people think that, again, this is contrived. Like, Luka could have just said, I already know Cat Noir's identity, right? Like, Luka could have said something, but here's the funny thing about that, I guess. If Luka said that, he would be exposing to Ladybug that he lied to her, right? Because she said, oh, our secret identity stayed secret, right? And he was like, yeah, even though they're not, you know, like, even though he knows, he lied to them in Wishmaker, right? And so people are like, well, why didn't Luka just speak up now and say that he knows Cat Noir's identity? It's because, like, as much as Luka is, like, nice and like kind and very heroic, as we've seen, like, in this episode, obviously, this isn't to, like, shade Luka, by the way. I'm not saying that Luka's done anything wrong. I'm just saying that Luka has a vested interest in not saying anything, right? Because if he does, Ladybug won't trust him anymore. Right? If he's like, oh, but I know Cat Noir's identity, is that okay? She's gonna be like, excuse me, how do you know Cat Noir's identity, sir? So I feel like that's the reasoning. It's like, it's Luka being a little bit, I don't want to say self-serving, but I feel like that's basically it. It's like Luka doesn't want to say anything because if he says something now that he knows who Cat Noir is, like, Ladybug's gonna turn around and be like, excuse me, how do you know that? Did you lie to me? Right? Like, that's gonna cause a much bigger issue. You know, like, that's gonna cause a problem. And so I feel like that Luka is just like, I'm going to shut the fuck up about this at the moment, right? Because he even asked, like, are you gonna do what he asked you to do? I feel like that he may have been possibly willing if she didn't have, like, another plan, but I feel like that, like, in general, I don't know, like, I feel like that, like, in general, he was kind of like, well, I'm gonna stay out of this because, like, Ladybug calls on me to help her, and the ends justify the means. Like, I think that, like, what Luka's learning this season is sometimes you have to lie to protect the people you love, even though he hated lying so much. After Wishmaker, he finally realized the value in telling a lie or, like, saying nothing at all. Whereas before, he was a very, like, strict, like, honesty above all else kind of, you know, dude, if that makes sense. So I think that's actually in character for Luka, because Luka's now struggling with the same stuff that, like, you know, Marinette and Adrien have struggled with, that Alia has been struggling with, like, lying to Nino. Like, there's a lot of characters learning the lesson about, like a white lie, in a sense. And so I feel like that's, like, Luka's whole thing, you know, is that he could have said that, right? Like, he could have done this, right? He could have been like, oh, you know, like, I know who Cat Noir is, but, like, he thinks that the ends justify the means in this case. If Ladybug has a good plan, he doesn't need to reveal anything. At least that's what I think, right? Because, see, he even asked, he's like, how are you gonna do this, right? Like, you know, I thought that you're not supposed to know yourself. So I feel like he's asking, like, oh, Ladybug, how are you gonna do this? Are you gonna send me up there so I'll know his identity? Like, he's almost fishing for information, and I feel like that he's using that to make a decision. Like, he only made this decision in this course of action because she had, like, an okay plan, if that makes sense, right? And so that's what I think. Anyway, so she explains the whole reasoning to Luka, and I feel like that, like, this was necessary because, like, the fandom has been like, why didn't Marinette tell, like, Cat Noir her identity instead of Alia? Like, I feel like this was kind of pointed towards the audience, like, oh, we need to remind the audience again why they can't tell each other, because if one of them got akumatized, they'd reveal the identity of the other, and then Hawkmoth would go harass their families, like what happened to Alia, right? And so I feel like that Luka was basically like, so, how are we gonna do this, Marinette? Right? Like, here's the plan, like, what's the plan, right? Like, he was asking, because if she had a shit plan, I think that he would have, like, stepped in and been like, there's something I have to tell you, you know? But, like, I don't know, her plan seems good in theory. Now, here's what I will say, though, right? Because I'm defending Luka here. I'm like, Luka had a good reason, or at least Luka had a logical character reason. Like, this isn't the plot hole that people are making it out to be. There are other problems with this episode, but this is not, like, you know what I mean? This is not the biggest problem. But here's where I think things get a little fucking funny, okay? Luka knows that Cat Noir is Adrien, and so I think that it's kind of funny that he didn't, like, foresee that this could be a problem. You know, like, he knows that Ladybug is Marinette, and he knows that she likes Adrien, and so in what universe was this not gonna go badly? Because as soon as I saw this, I was like, well, of course, she's not gonna want to change back time, because she knows that Cat Noir is the love of her life. Like, of course this would happen, right? And so I just find it funny that Luka was just sitting there, and he was just like, like, you know, like, I'm like, Luka, what outcome were you expecting? Of course she wouldn't go through with the plan after finding out that Cat Noir is Adrien. So I did think that was a little fucking funny, right? But right? He said, or I can ask him directly. I can just ask him, you know? Like, I feel like that was him trying to find an excuse, right? Like, he was just trying to find an excuse for him to know the knowledge he already knows. Does that make sense? Like, I thought that was, like, kind of funny. You know, because, you know, he's like, I'll just ask. Why don't I just ask, right? Because, again, we have to give credit to Luka. Like, it would be less dangerous. Like, he basically tried, but he didn't want to tell her that he lied to her. So he was just like, well, you know, like, I could do this. You know, he's saying that because, like, he already knows. He wanted to just worm his way into, like, getting to know the information that he knows so he doesn't have to lie to her about it anymore. But when she didn't, like, give him or accept, like, the in that he was trying to get into, right? Like, he couldn't say anything after that, you know? And so, wait, what does he say, right? He won't tell anyone else unless I ask him. That is true. But yeah, and so then Luka's supposed to give Chat Noir's identity to the Guardian, right? And so that's like the whole thing. Then the Guardian will leave them alone and like it's all fine, right? And so as long as I don't know who he is, everything will be okay. Because look at the look on Luka's face. Luka's face here is giving me like, shit, right? Like he has this soft little smile, but I feel like that it's almost like, I know something you don't know, Marinette. This is maybe not good, right? Because, I don't know, I think that that's like a pretty interesting thing though, because like, you know, Marinette does have a point. Like Luka, like Chat Noir would not reveal for Luka, but at the same time, like what if she was like, oh, like what if she just told Chat Noir to reveal for Luka and then she went away? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the only other thing with this episode is it's like, if that's Ladybug's reasoning, can't she just, you know, make sure that she like specifies to Chat Noir that Luka gets to know like on her order? Does that make sense? Anyway, and so there are plot holes, but they're not the plot holes that people are referencing, but then there are other plot holes, you know what I mean? Like there's just some things where I'm just like, okay, well they could have done this instead, you know? Like they could have done something else. I mean, and like technically, right, we also have to think of this in terms of like doing something else would not make a good story, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like doing something else wouldn't necessarily make a good story in the same way, but I think that it's better though, instead of making the characters kind of dumb, is to basically like have a character bring up that idea. So what if Luka was just like, but like, why don't you just like tell him to tell me? Like, you know what I mean? Like Luka could have brought that up, right? Like as a point, and then Marinette could have had another explanation. Because if you're going to create like a character making a poor decision, I think that like the other characters should at least call them out on it to like understand like the reasoning, right? Because otherwise it does seem like a plot hole and like a character just being stupid, right? Like I think that like a couple more lines in there could have helped a little bit of like, oh, but Ladybug, if he'll only reveal his identity to you, why don't like you just tell him to tell me? Problem solved. Like, and then she'll be like, no, like that's not it. You know, like something like that. Like she could have had a response to that. But anyway, and so I think that like there are less plot holes than people are saying, but there's still some problems with this episode and how it's written to a certain extent. And I think that like the funniest one is that Luka knows the outcome of this scenario, but he still goes through with this plan anyway. You know what I mean? Like, and some people are bringing up that he could have rewinded time like right now and just pretended like Marinette told him, you know, and so then she wouldn't have known at all, like to avoid this like becoming a scenario. Do you know what I mean? Like he could have like, say Luka rewinds right now, and then he could have said, yeah, you know, you told me Chat Noir's identity, I'll go tell the Guardian, and then Luka could have told the Guardian the information he already knows, which is that Chat Noir's Adrien, right? So that's also an outcome. And so yeah, it's just hard because you want to make an interesting story, so you don't want to go like the hardcore logical route all the time, because that's not very interesting, right? It's not very interesting for Luka to tell the Guardian, because then this episode's over, right? But like I feel like that there could have been another invented reason for like solving this problem, basically, you know, because I feel like that actually would have been kind of interesting for Luka to lie and be like, yeah, I know his identity, like yeah, he told you and then you told me, haha, right? Like, he could have backed up time because he could have known that there was the chance that, like, Ladybug would not want to turn back time and that she would want to know after knowing that it's Adrien, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about, like, all of these things, I guess, right? And so that's the funny part to me about this episode, is that I feel like that, like, Luka must have known that this was gonna happen to a degree, because he knows how much Marinette loves Adrien and that she would not want to turn back time, right? And I love how he's just like, oh wow, like, is this really happening? Like, Adrien is just so cute this episode, but I also kind of, like, I feel like Luka feels bad because they're kind of taking advantage of Adrien's feelings here, and, like, it's almost for the greater good, but then it's kind of not, because that's, like, kind of what I was thinking, was that, like, it's so sad to see how excited Adrien is. Like, he's been waiting for this moment for such a long time, and Ladybug is just, like, kind of manipulating him in a way, right? And I feel like, look at Luka's face. I feel like even Luka is kind of uncomfortable with this, to be honest. And I don't know if they'll remember this now, because the timeline, I don't know if they'll remember. But anyway, and so then he tells her, and that's the funniest part of this episode, is that she starts laughing like she doesn't believe him. I think that was pretty funny. But what is actually interesting about this episode, and what I will give this episode credit for, is I think the best part of this episode is seeing Marinette grapple with the fact that Adrien is Cat Noir. Because, like, this episode obviously is kind of like, oh, this didn't happen because they reset the timeline. And so a lot of people are saying that this is just, like, fancy filler, right? Like, a lot of people are saying that this is just filler that is, like, dressed up, if that makes sense. But I will say that I think that, like, the most interesting part of this episode was seeing how Marinette would theoretically grapple with this information. Because when it does come, I feel like that it'll be, like, very interesting to see her go through the motions for, like, an entire season. Because that's the other thing about this episode. Like, this episode was rushed because obviously it's, like, a self-contained episode, but, like, they, like, rushed through everything. Like, that's just how it went, right? And so that's my other complaint, is I feel like that there was a lot of rushing in this episode, right? But yeah, I think that that's, like, the interesting part, is seeing, like, Marinette actually grapple with this. At the same time, this was a little anticlimactic, and so I feel like that that's kind of a giveaway to the idea that, I don't want to say the idea, but I feel like that, I don't know how to explain this. It's a giveaway to the fact that this isn't permanent, because it was so anticlimactic and so rushed through, and we didn't really get to sit with anyone's feelings for very long, like, in this moment. Like, this was a very anticlimactic moment, and that's how you sort of know that this is not permanent, because if they were going to actually do this permanently, it would be a big, slow moment, you know? And so, yeah, like, I feel like that this is what makes me feel bad, is that, like, you know, like, he's just so happy. He's like, now I don't need to lie when you used to save me as Adrien, or when you know, trusted me with the snake Miraculous, and I had to lie about that too. And so I do like, he's like, whoever you are, even if you're not ready yet, you're the most outstanding person in the world. And I like that he didn't, like, pressure her. He's like, whenever you're ready, Ladybug, like, I'm here, you know? And so then Luka's like, oh shit, no turning back now. And I'm like, Luka, like, you knew that this was going to happen, right? And so what I really like is that she instantly goes into, like, a Marinette mode, and I do like that she puts the hand on the neck, because that's kind of like a universal symbol of, like, you know, not, I don't want to say shame, but, like, uncomfortable, or, like, trying to, like, close yourself in, right? So, you know who I am, you know where I live, come find me, right? And so I just thought that that was kind of funny. But yeah, and so why did you change your mind? I'm curious to see what will happen. That's not a good enough reason, Marinette. But you said it was too dangerous to know his identity. As long as he does not know who I am, it's fine, right? And so look at Luka's face here. Luka's just like, right? But I'm like, Luka, you could have prevented this, right? But I feel like he wants to trust her, and I feel like that, like, Luka also wishes that they could know. I feel like that's the other thing, is that as soon as Luka saw the identities get revealed in Wishmaker, he also knew precisely why they both can't know. And I feel like at the heart of it, like, Luka is kind of a romantic, and so I feel like that he does want them to know each other's identities, because he wants them to be happy together, despite, like, the danger that it may bring. And so maybe his thought process is also, this may be dangerous, but it could also be wonderful and amazing, and like this could like, you know, change their lives and maybe things won't be so bad. And so maybe like that's the other thing, that Luka's a romantic at heart, and so he does want them to, like, he wants them to know each other's identities. And so now that Ladybug has chose this, he's just hoping that it'll be okay now. Meanwhile, Tiki's just like, hey, you know, he's in love with you. You can just love Adrien, right? I'm in love with Adrien, but I don't like Chat Noir. They're two completely different people. This was the most interesting part of the episode to me, to see Marinette grapple with this. And then you also have to think about, well, if I think that Adrien and Chat Noir are two completely different people, what if I reveal my identity and he thinks that about Ladybug and Marinette, right? Like, that's a very valid concern. And then she's like, am I in love with Adrien? Is Chat Noir the real Adrien, right? And so I think that deep down, like on surface level, yes, it's about that. It's about like, do I know the real Adrien? But then like on a subconscious level, is it not also about the fact that like he could think the exact same thing about her, right? And that he could be like, and like, is Ladybug the real Marinette, or is Marinette the real Marinette? Do I even like Marinette as much as I like Ladybug, right? So there's like an underlying insecurity, because if she's like, I think this about Chat Noir, will Chat Noir think the same thing that I'm thinking about me? And will he doubt like whether or not he actually likes me, right? So I think that she's also paranoid, right? Like, who's the real Adrien, right? Like, you know, and so I think that that's the most interesting thing as part of this episode. Like, this is the most interesting thing in the episode, is seeing Marinette grapple with this, and I would love to see this as like a full like season-long conflict, because something that I had a theory about was that like at the end of season 4, Marinette would permanently find out that Adrien is Chat Noir, but he wouldn't find out that she's Ladybug, and the whole season, like all of season 5, would be her grappling with that. Or the reverse, where Chat Noir finds out that Marinette is Ladybug, but like Ladybug doesn't find out that Adrien's Chat Noir. Like a one-sided reveal that would not cause the end of the world like this does, obviously. Right? And then, like, we would see those feelings be grappled with for the entire season. Now that they've done this, I still feel like that could be possible. Like, I still feel like it could be possible, though, because they've already done this, like, they've done this, and they've showed us the danger in this. And so, some people may be like, well, they already did that in Ephemeral, and then we saw what happened, so they won't do it permanently in the season finale. But I feel like that this almost gives more credence to them doing it in the season finale. I don't know, like, it's a hard thing to explain, right? Meanwhile, I love how Adrien is just like, he has so much energy. He's like on the rock wall, he's like fighting in his fencing stick, he's going up and down the slide in his room, he's skateboarding, he's just going fucking crazy, right? And so I thought that that was actually kind of funny. I thought that that was pretty good. Like, the humor in this episode, even though I think the writing is a little rushed, right? Like, up until this point, everything was okay. It's like when Hawkmoth finds out that his son is Chat Noir, everything gets rushed out the window. And like when they start dating and everything, like that's when everything feels rushed. Now, something I found interesting about this scene was that, like, you know, Adrien goes like meow meow and like whatever, like he's kind of being the class clown and everyone laughs, right? And that's basically like what's been going on all season, is he's been like becoming more of his Chat Noir traits have seeped into Adrien. And I talked about that in my theory. Do you guys remember how I was like, oh, at the end of, I think it was the one with Rose, like he makes this joke about Chloe, right? And everyone laughs. Like, he's been more like Chat Noir in his Adrien self. He's becoming more comfortable to do that. And so I think that this wasn't just a function of like, oh, like, see the similarities, Marinette, ha ha ha, right? Like, no, like, I feel like it's actually because, like, the entire season, like, this is, like, reality. Like, even though the timeline got rewritten, this is how Adrien's acting now. He is acting more like Chat Noir in class. We've seen that in previous episodes. So that's what I actually found pretty interesting, is that now Marinette sees what has been happening all along, and what has been happening in previous episodes where Adrien's been, like, cracking jokes and puns and stuff like that, right? Or, like, even like this, you know, like, her realizing that, like, Chat Noir has been everywhere. Like, Chat Noir has, like, been with Adrien the entire time. Like, I thought that that was just really great. And I think that that's one thing that won't necessarily be rewritten. Like, as we go forward, I think we will definitely see more, like, Chat Noir moments in Adrien, right? Because we've already been seeing that throughout the whole season. But look at this. Oh my god, this is so cool. So you have all the photos, and then they all, oh boy, I don't know if this is going. It may just be going slowly. But yeah, then they all change. I wanted like the exact moment. I know there's so many frames here. There's so many frames of them doing it, but like look at this and then like this. I wonder how they did this. I guess they just swapped out his character model in whatever they used to make this. Oopsies. And whatever they used to make that, but I thought that was like so fascinating. But yeah, everything up until this point is okay. Like I like seeing Marinette grapple with that she doesn't see Adrien the same way anymore and like all of that stuff, right? Like I feel like that's interesting, but I feel like that like when they start dating each other, that's when everything goes out the window. This was great though, like her being like, have you ever thought you knew a person and then now you don't know, right? And then Luka's like, yeah, because I know that you're Ladybug, right? Like obviously he didn't say that, but that's what he's thinking in his head, right? And so, you know, I love his response here. And I think that this is great because this is so true. And now we know he's talking about Marinette. He loves Marinette more knowing that she's Ladybug, and it helped him understand that she wasn't lying to him, you know, because she still loves Adrien. It's because she has this incredible burden, right? So I actually really like all of Luka's dialogue in this episode is great. I mean, some of it, like again, some of Luka's stuff is kind of weird, but I love this montage of them like working together and like her realizing that maybe she did kind of like Cat Noir all along, right? Like she makes this little face when they're fighting, I guess, Siren again, right? And she's like, oh, like he's so brave, so heroic. Like she's beginning to like him more. And I think that the umbrella scene actually really helped with this, right? Because she looks at him and realizes that like Adrien was in front of her all along. Like the Cat Noir that like gives the umbrella to them in the middle of the rain was the same Adrien that gave her the umbrella as Marinette once, right? And so I think that really like, you know, solidifies her decision in a way. You know, is that she realizes that, like, you know, all along the Adrien was there in the Cat Noir, and the Cat Noir was in the Adrien, I guess, you know? Like, it's kind of a hard thing to explain, and she's like, well, say something, right? And I love Adrien's response here is great, because it makes me so happy, because, like, you know, this could have gone badly, but he's like, I just discovered one of my best friends is the one I love and admire more than anyone else, and I thought that was just so nice, because I like that, like, this is Adrien's reaction. Makes me feel a lot better, because, like, we've had some theories where Adrien, like, does not react well to this information, you know, and so I think that that's really good. I love how, you know, he's just like, wow, it was Marinette all along. Amazing, right? And I love them, like, passing little notes in class, like, you know, with each other, even though this note does not have anything on it, but whatever. So this is where this episode gets bad. This is where this episode just has, like, bad writing, okay? Is that he's like, good night, my lady, and Hawkmoth's like, oh my god, my son said the same word as my enemy? Oh gosh, like that's how that works. I think that this is so stupid. This is so contrived because like some people are blaming Adrien, like Adrien, how could you say my lady in the house? But like lots of people like call their, like I know like in fan fiction and stuff, because like obviously throughout the translations it's different. Like I see a lot of like Cat Noir calling like Marinette like princess for some reason. I think that he may have done that in French once. I think that that's why. But anyway, like the stuff like that, like that's not like, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty common. Like when, I don't know what exactly it translates to. I don't know if it's my lady or princess or whatever. Like I don't know what he actually calls her in terms of like the French translation. In English he says my lady, obviously. But like, that's not Cat Noir specific. Like your son could that's just a pet name. And I like, you know, that sounds much better than like babe or something. Can you imagine like Cat Noir being like, yeah, babe, or like baby or so? I hate that. I hate when guys call their girlfriends, or even like the reverse. I hate like baby as a term of endearment. I hate it. I hate it so much. Anyway, so I just think it's stupid for Hawkmoth to be like, oh my god, it all makes sense now. Like my son's Cat Noir. Like he could have found out in like any other way, but they just wrote the most stupid, like contrived way for him to find out. And I know that this is like a time travel episode, so it's not a big deal or whatever, but like they couldn't think of any other way. Like what if, like, I don't know, Like, what if, like, he was mid-transformation or something and he walked in on that? Like, there could have been literally anything, but it was this, or, like, I don't know, like, because Ladybug was calling Adrien on the phone at one point throughout this episode, which I also thought was dumb, right? Because, like, what if somebody heard her? But anyway, like, you know what I mean? Like, there were just other ways to find out, right? Like, he could have heard Adrien getting a call from Ladybug in that scene where she called him, right, about, like, the monster happening. But instead, this is what happens. Anyway, and so I love how he's like, is this even my house? Like, I didn't know this was under my house. Like, is this, I don't even know where we are anymore, right? And so then, obviously, he sees Emily. So this is very similar to Cat Blanc, but I think that it's been interesting to see, like, Hawkmoth's characterization here, because he seems angry. He's like, I've been trying to bring back your mom for hundreds of weeks, but you, like, you know what I mean? You have been preventing me this entire time, right? And so he seems very angry. I give you the power to accelerate time and bring back your mother, right? And so we don't see a lot of Ephemeral in this episode, not really, right? And so he tries to resist at first, and then he twitches the ring under his glove, which I just thought was funny. But again, like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? I feel like that this is Senti-Monster land at this point, you know? And so what's interesting is people are like, oh, but why didn't he do that in Cat Blanc? In Cat Blanc, I think that, like, Adrien was a bit more susceptible for some reason. Like, in Cat Blanc, he seems a lot more, like, upset at all of this. Whereas in this episode, his attitude seems to have, like, changed. Like, he doesn't freak out and start to cry that his mom's in the basement. And he also doesn't freak out that his father's Hawkmoth either. You know, like, there's a lot less emotion here. And so it seems like that Adrien, like, Cat Blanc was more agreeable. This Adrien is not as agreeable for whatever reason. That's the vibe that I'm getting anyway. That's sort of how I feel, is that, like, oh, but why didn't he do this in Cat Blanc? This is how I see things, right? In Cat Blanc, he was much less, like, resistant, right? Like, right now, Adrien is trying to actively, like, resist being akumatized, right? And so I think that that's kind of the difference, is that, like, he didn't need to control him when, like, to get him akumatized in Cat Blanc. Now, I think that the argument that people are making, though, is, okay, but when Cat Blanc went rogue, why didn't Hawkmoth try to stop him at that point, right? And I think the answer to that could be then Adrien got too powerful for him to control anymore, almost like the Senti-Monster that was in Feast. And so maybe that's the explanation, is that, like, for getting akumatized, Adrien was less able to resist in Cat Blanc. So he didn't need to, like, use the ring. But then after, like, you know, when Cat Blanc was destroying the world, he couldn't. Like, he couldn't use the ring on him. It didn't work. Like, that could be the Cat Blanc explanation. Whereas this time, he's, like, actively trying to resist being akumatized, so Gabriel is using the ring. Does that make any sense? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? I'm basically saying that Cat Blanc was too powerful to use the ring after, but Adrien didn't need, like, the ring to be used on him before, because his emotions were so strong that, like, he did not, like, put up this much of a fight in terms of getting akumatized into Cat Blanc. You know what I mean? Whereas this time, like, upon akumatization, he is putting up a fight. That's why he's using the ring, right? But in Cat Blanc, I don't think that he put up this much of a fight, like, against being akumatized, you know what I mean? And so that's, like, sort of why I think that there's a difference. Now, post-akumatization, that would be an interesting question. I think that Cat Blanc just got too powerful, and that, like, you know, his power overrid somehow the Senti-Monster part. It's also possible that in Cat Blanc, they just weren't thinking about it, because, like, this episode has plot holes. Cat Blanc has plot holes. The plot holes don't mean that the Senti-Monster theory is not true. That just means that the writers weren't thinking about it in their consideration as they were writing Cat Blanc. Like, the real world answer for a lot of things, because people are like, well, Cat Blanc doesn't make any sense, because if Adrien was a Senti-Monster, like, you know, sometimes the easy answer is, like, the writers just didn't think of that. Like, it's not supposed to be, like, evidence against him being a Senti-Monster, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Cat Blanc being used as evidence against a Senti-Monster theory, to me, doesn't make any sense, because the logical explanation is that the writers just weren't thinking about it. They just wanted to make a cool episode, right? Whereas in this episode, clearly, they seem to be thinking about something, because we've gotten that ring a couple times now, right? And anyway, so then he uses the ring, and I love how Plag is just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, Plag tries to yell something, and I don't know what he tries to yell because, like, obviously it's in French. I also kind of like the fact that Adrien seems to have bought out the movie theater, unless Marinette's just super early because she's excited about the date. Cat Noir, or I guess he's not Cat Noir. Who knows what he is at this point? He's using, like, 3 Miraculouses. This is so creepy. Like, the purple, I do like the costume, but, like, the purple eyes and stuff, it's just so creepy. And she transforms as Ladybug right here. And, you know, a lot of people are like, well, why did she do that? Why did she transform as Ladybug in front of Hawkmoth? He already fucking knows. So there's not really anything she can do about that. That's not the plot hole of this episode, right? You know? But anyway. And so he says, I'm sorry, I promised to make this quick. So yeah, his outfit as Ephemeral is kind of ugly. But that's fine, whatever. We'll ignore that, you know, it just be like that sometimes, right? So people are saying that Marinette taking this picture is also a plot hole, right? Because, like, I guess she takes the picture on her Ladybug phone, but then she says that, like, you know, the, what do you call it? The Miraculous is in her sewing box, right? Like, so people are saying that this is a plot hole because she sends the picture of the watch to Luka, right? And she sends it on her Ladybug phone, but then Luka knows that Marinette, and it's in Marinette's sewing box, right? Like, I feel like that the reason why she did this is probably because saying Marinette, like, you know, the Kwamis are in like Marinette's sewing box would have taken too long, and she's obviously in the middle of transforming back. So I feel like that's not really a plot hole. She was just desperate and was just hoping that, like, Luka would be able to, like, to put 2 and 2 together, I guess. So I will say that's like a 0.5 of a problem, right? You know what I mean? Like, I would say that that's like 0.5 of a plot hole, but I think that, like, she was just praying that Luka's just like, he doesn't know anyone else that would understand. Like, Luka understands the message. Marinette has a giant sewing box in her room. Ladybug is Marinette. If Ladybug was any, like, random ass person, though, this would not work. So I will say it's 0.5 of a plot hole because the only reason why Luka knows where to go is because he knows that Marinette is Ladybug. But the question would be, like, an interesting question to ask would be, like, would Luka know that it's Marinette from that message if he didn't already? Because I feel like she's just living on a prayer at the moment, right? Like, she didn't have time to say it was in Marinette's house or that she was Marinette or whatever, I guess, right? But anyway, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there with that, I guess. You know, like, again, 0.5 of a plot hole, a little bit contrived, because this wouldn't work if Luka didn't know, because I'm sure that lots of girls in Paris have sewing equipment. But anyway, I think that this, though, like, for all the issues with this aside, I love that immediately Luka knows what she means, right? That she's must be in trouble if she's sending, like, that sort of, like, message. And then also, I love how he just breaks into the bakery on his bicycle, and he's like, I'm so sorry, guys. It's an emergency. I think she wants me to go back in time to this exact moment, but she knows that I can't. It's too late, right? And so then Saz is just like, well, how about I do anyway? Like, the situation must be desperate. And so then we get that it's the end of the world, which I think we heard in, like, one of the trailers, like, for this season, like, one of the Kwamis saying that, and now finally we know the context. Yeah, the world is ending. And so I'm glad that we actually got this explanation, right? Because this is something that a lot of people have been wondering, like, you know, like, why, like, what happens when you make a wish? Why is this happening, right? Why is it the end of the world? Imagine the world is a notepad. Everything's blue, but you want it to be red. You have to, like, erase everything and put it back. When someone makes a wish, the universe is completely destroyed and then totally rebuilt, right? But no one knows how. And so that's the thing, right? And so I feel like this gives more credence to the idea of, like, equivalent exchange. And then I feel like that the price will be that, like, you know, if you rewrite the world to have, like, Emily return, Adrien will disappear, right? Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, that is, like, the price of it, right? Like, if you want the world to be like this, there's a cost. So I think that, like, there's still a cost. you know? We don't know what the cost is, because some people may think, but the cost is destroying the world. Well, no, Hawkmoth doesn't care if the world's destroyed, right? I still think that the cost will be Adrien. If you're going to rewrite the world, something must be taken away from you as a price. Like, something in this new world must be missing as a price. So he gets Emily, like he wanted, but he loses his son. That's my thought process anyway, but since we don't see, like, the result of this, like, we don't see, like, you know, the outcome, we don't really know. We only know that the wish will destroy the world, right? Like, full stop. Whatever you wish for will destroy the world. We don't know, you know, like, if something else will be taken from you when you make a wish. And so anyway, we get back to this moment, and the clocks are going wacky. This satellite is, like, you know, several times are coexisting. This is the only part of the episode I didn't understand. I didn't understand how resetting the satellite somehow fixed this. Like, I get that it fixes everyone's technology, but I don't understand how it fixed the timeline problem at all. And I don't understand how she could Lucky Charm to fix everything. You know, like, that part was a little bit confusing. I guess technically the reason is because she makes a Lucky Charm, and that Lucky Charm is, I guess, working as, like, stopping, like, Gabriel as the villain, you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, all this was caused by Gabriel, so she makes the Lucky Charm, and then the Lucky Charm fixes everything that Gabriel did by wishing for the end of the world. I guess that's really the only reason. Anyway, some people were like, who the heck is this? Clearly, not clearly, but, like, to me, it's clear that this is Joan of Arc, and we know that Joan of Arc was a Miraculous holder, so with the timelines, like, coexisting and stuff, like, it seems like Joan of Arc was, like, you know, she popped up for a second, right? And she was there. Yeah, so Saz doesn't really know everything, right? But, like, they kind of know that something must have been, like, going wrong. But yeah, the whole, like, everybody's getting akumatized out here. Like, you know, there's timelines coexisting. It's a little confusing, but I guess she makes the Lucky Charm, and then they go up and fix the satellite, and then they can fix the time on all of the devices, and at least, like, that'll help, like, with, like, the city. You know what I mean? Like, that'll help with the city going, like, haywire and crazy. But I don't really understand how programming the satellite counts as, like, undoing, like, the villain. You know what I mean? That's the part I don't get. Also, is this the first time where we see, like, their space transformations in the show? But they, like, zoom by these super fast, so I'm not gonna show them. I was just wondering, but yeah. And so they go up, they fix the satellite, and then everything's just, like, a-okay, and then she does Miraculous Ladybug. That's the only thing I don't get, was how is this defeating the villain? Right? Like, it stopped the world from going crazy, but that wasn't, like, you guys didn't defeat the villain. I mean, you kind of did, because you went back in time, and now Gabriel doing the bad thing technically doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, I don't care. I don't really understand this part of the episode, and I don't think anyone does, but whatever. It's fine. Yeah, and so then she's like, okay, well, let's keep falling, and Adrien seems suspicious by this, and so even though this episode didn't have, like, lasting consequences, I do think that, like, Adrien being suspicious of, like, oh, yeah, like, I didn't want to talk to you about anything important, like, he may put two and two together and figure out whatever Ladybug wanted to talk to me about, maybe that was the cause for the end of the world. That's not good, right? So I feel like we could definitely get into that, but then she basically, you know, tells off the Guardian, like, I've proven to you that I've done enough, and, like, you know, you caused the end of the world, bro. Like, whatever you wanted us to do, clearly it was not good. Saz had to go back in time, right? So she's basically, like, telling him what's what, like, you know, we can't have Chat Noir reveal his identity to me because you were wrong, look at what you did. So yeah, and he just drops it. And so that seems to be a little resolved, but it seems like he finally, like, respects her judgment now. And that seems like kind of, again, it seems like that his reason for being angry kind of came out of nowhere, but then his reason for, like, being unangry equally came out of nowhere. Like, he was what do you call it? Placated? He was placated really quickly, is what I'm trying to say. Try saying that 10 times fast. So yeah, this episode was a little something. But yeah, I mean, it was something. And I think that that's it from me, guys. I don't have anything else to say. There are issues with this episode. I would say that this episode was, like, okay. I understand why people are like, that's, like, the 100th episode of the show. Are you serious? I think that, like, the first 16 minutes were good. It's when they made, like, they had to invent a reason why Hawkmoth, like, knew that Adrien was Cat Noir. That's when everything went downhill for me. But I feel like that Marinette struggling with, like, you know, reconciling her feelings about Cat Noir, like, that was really good. Like, it's just, like, a couple things after that just went, like, whoosh, you know? But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed my little discussion about this episode. Thank you for attending Calxiyn's Royal Court today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!